everybody in the cinema and everybody dialing in online. Welcome to Channel 4. We are super proud to welcome you here to Channel 4's building, cinema. I'm Emma Flaxman, I'm the Senior Commercial Comms Lead here, and I am super excited that we are sponsoring the APG Awards this year. Channel 4's remit obviously is to create change through entertainment, and the commercial arm, our advertising arm, want to do exactly the same when it comes to advertising. So you guys are a very important audience for us, especially when it comes to our Diversity in Advertising Award specifically. Last year, we changed it up a little bit after the Paralympics, and we wanted to do a theme around accessibility and actually making those ads more accessible to our audiences. And in fact, by doing so, we're reaching 30% more of the population than ever before. So we've decided to keep the same theme running for this year. So we're giving everyone a 12-month run up to it rather than our normal couple of months, so everyone could get their ducks in a row. And because obviously when it comes to accessibility by design, it all starts at the beginning, which is the strategy. Hence why you guys are so important to us right now. I'm super excited about what the awards may bring, especially the Special Diversity and Inclusion Award. And I'm now going to hand over to Emily and enjoy the opening.
Hello everyone, it's lovely to see you all. I am Emily. I am co-chair of the APG with Bevo, who's over there, and I am also, what am I? I'm CSO at Special Group in London. Forgotten my name by now. Massive welcome to our launch for the 2025 APG Awards. What a brilliant venue. It's amazing. A massive thank you to Emma and to Channel 4 for being fantastic partners and for hosting us this evening. So big thanks. Tonight we're here to launch the APG Awards, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you all about what we've been working on for the APG as we look to the future of strategy. The other day, Sarah and I, our wonderful director of the APG, we were chatting about tonight, and I said to her that I was absolutely terrified about talking in front of you all because you're such magnificently talented human beings and you're my peers, and it just makes me feel sick. And she responded with, "Don't worry, Emily, they're APG planners. They're the friendliest audience you could get." And it gave me pause because she's right. And that's where I wanted to start this evening, with the special thing that is the APG community. Sarah, Martin, Bevo, my co-chair, and I have spent a lot of time over the past year examining what exactly the APG is and where it should be going, and what it should be doing going forward. I think it's fair to say, I think you'd all agree that this industry is facing a lot of changes. And I'm not here to take you through a trends deck or the bellwether report, because that would be deeply dull and terrifying. But shifts in talent and influence, and let's face it, budgets, are throwing up important questions about how the APG can best serve strategists. So like good planners, we've looked at the data and we've talked to a lot of you about this subject. And the most resounding answer is community. That's what we hear every single time, that community is at the heart of the APG, and that's at its best, that's what the APG stands for now and in the future. And it makes sense. I think a lot of us in this room will have grown up with the APG as a collective beacon guiding us through the issues facing us all, especially in times of great change and existential threat, as we're facing now. So it's community that we've put at the heart of all our initiatives going forward, and it's community that will make them happen. As a not-for-profit organisation, we have really shallow pockets, and we're feeling it more than ever. So we rely on our community and our sponsors to help us achieve all these initiatives. So thank you. To touch on them briefly, first up, some of you may know that the inimitable Tom Roach has been leading a task force across continents, disciplines and organisations to share, understand, learn and shape what AI means for creative strategy and how we can use it. And instead of writing a few articles or bashing out a few think pieces, we have brought people together to come up with practical ideas, even when the context is so competitive and fast moving and hard to get a handle on. And it's worked. I've just realised that sounds like we've solved AI. Yeah, completed it, mate. Smashed it. We haven't solved AI or completed it. But one of the participants told us recently of Tom's working group that it has been a unique experience working in a genuinely diverse group with different ages, gender, geography, and flavour of strategy represented. And I think it really is the best of what the APG does. And so there's more of that to come in that vein. Secondly, our Arrive and Thrive initiative is another example of how powerful the APG community is. Over the past 2 years, a fantastic and growing APG working group has created safe spaces for a new generation of strategists to share their experiences, to learn from others, and shape how this industry supports new talent. It's going from strength to strength, now sponsored by Gillian Morrison, who's sharing so much of her wisdom with us. So thank you, Gillian. So look out for how you can get involved and support the future strategy. It's a growing initiative, and we're going to be doing more and more around that. Tom and Kit are going to be talking to you in a minute about why we're all actually here in this room for the 2025 awards. This year and going forwards, the awards will celebrate even more than ever the wonderful latitude in creative strategy and the applications of it. We're designing more diversity of thinking into the awards. We're expanding the categories and stimulating and broadening our community as we go and building our collective intelligence. Huge thanks to our award sponsors, the Nursery, ITV, Denise Williams, Thinkbox, Tracksuit, Strategy Book, Davies and McCurr, and Walk. You helped make it happen, so big thank you to all of you. And finally, we want to steal a little of the limelight to unveil the new visual identity of the APG, which you've got a bit of it here. First up, huge thanks to Chris Chapman at Adam and Eve and his design wizardry for creating this, and to amazing Lexi for bringing it to life across everything APG going forwards. So, yes, it is still a light bulb. It's still a light bulb. It's always been a light bulb for the APG. But where it used to represent light bulb moments, I think it would represent a light bulb moment. Now it's something simpler, more simple visually. We've stripped it back a bit, but I think more layered in meaning in the conversations that Martin, Sarah, and I have been having with Chris. I think as planners, we're in the business of illuminating. That doesn't change. That seems consistent. We're illuminating people, culture, brands, organisations, and as the APG, we're a homing beacon for strategists now and in the future. And it's our community that will light the way, even when it feels murky and unclear, which it does a bit right now. I can't believe I've just decoded design in front of planners. That's really embarrassing. Forgive me for that one. Anyway, that's why we've doubled down on our old light bulb in our new identity. So it's old but new. Old principles of community, but new commitments as we look ahead. Old fundamentals, new energy, or just old humans and old energy if you're me up there. But anyway, the APG icon is re-energized for a new generation of strategy. So hopefully you like it. You're going to see it everywhere. We're really proud of it. It feels like it's got energy, but it still has that core of what the APG is all about, that sense of illumination. So I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you from me for being here tonight. We are really excited for the future, and we're more grateful than ever to every single person who makes the APG everything it is and everything it always will be. So enjoy the night, stay for a drink later, and it's really lovely to see you all, and let's chat later.
Thanks so much for that, Emily. It's so brilliant to hear all the amazing stuff that the APG does, and this thing of community really does feel like a brilliant kind of essence of what the APG is all about. So it's fantastic to hear. So I'm going to say a few words about the awards and the theme for them this year, and then I'll hand over to three of our brilliant award winners from 2023, who'll do a kind of a little rundown of what their highlights from their papers were. I was so proud to have been asked a couple of years back to be a committee member, and then a judge, and then we set up this AI working group. So genuinely feel like an APG planner for the first time. Actually, I always felt like an IPA planner. So I feel right there. There you go. And I where I did have more success, I haven't been that great at APG awards actually in my time. So I genuinely feel part of the community in a way that I didn't until about 3 or 4 years ago, which is crazy, really crazy. One of the roles for the chair of the final judges, which is what I've been asked to do this time, is to come up with a theme for the awards. And we this year, after several conversations, we alighted on this thing of every flavour of strategy, which already feels like it's resonating with people. And it's, we're already getting people asking, does this theme, does this paper, this case, is that going to work? What do you mean by it? So it feels like it's already got something which is great to see essentially a proposition actually working in the wild. It speaks to what strategy is now and what it's becoming. Creative strategy has travelled a hell of a long way since the 60s and 70s, when those two guys, Stanley Pollitt and Stephen King, sort of invented this thing which we now call planning and strategy, or it has different names, doesn't it? It's a discipline that used to be extremely singular in certain ways, and now is incredibly different and diverse in many ways. It's travelled a long way. It's travelled to all sorts of different kinds of places, to different organisations, to all kinds of new kinds of agencies. And as the world of marketing and advertising communication grew up and fragmented, creative strategy has fragmented too. Media fragmentation has been a thing for a while, and now we're really seeing the impact of creative fragmentation, I think, on this discipline. In all sorts of good ways, but of course it can also feel splintered and sometimes too siloed, and sometimes a bit lonely for some of those strategists out there in places. So we want this theme, we want the awards to feel like a coming together of all these different branches of strategy in all the different ways that it exists today, whether that's in-house, freelance, in media agencies, social agencies, PR agencies, all of the different kinds of places where it happens. We really want it to be an awards that can encompass all of those different parts. So for 2025, it felt right for the awards to not just reflect the diversity of creative strategy that is now happening, but to be a place where all of those pieces could come back together, a home for every kind of strategy. Sometimes you see people trying to gatekeep what strategy is, saying, "Oh, that's not strategy, that's just tactics." And of course, sometimes they're probably right. But rather than gatekeep what it is, we want to really open the floodgates to the best creative strategy thinking out there. So with the APG Strategy Awards, Creative Strategy Awards 2025, we're going to bring every part of the discipline together into one brilliant whole to celebrate its breadth and variety today, to bring it together in one place. So without further ado, I would love to welcome Joan up onto the stage to talk through her brilliant Flora Plant work from 2023 and the award that she got for it.
Hello. Don't think I'm on the right slide yet. Here we go. So the star of our story is a little known dairy-free sub-brand called Flora Plant Butter. And the backdrop to the story is a culture of dairy dominance, with decades of advertising spent hardwiring us to embrace dairy without question. The dairy industry even influences us from nursery age, telling us milk will help us grow up big and strong. So unsurprisingly, we're quite positive about dairy products. But we wanted to gatecrash their party and steal share from big dairy markets, not fight for share of that much smaller dairy-free sector. So we set ourselves an audacious goal. We didn't want to be an alternative to dairy. We wanted to be seen as a successor to dairy, making dairy seem outdated. We had a great product. 80% of people who tried Flora Plant loved it. And the client briefed us with the proposition, our butter lovers love it. But they were already really happy, right, with butter. Unlike the meat industry, there's no big imperative to change. People don't eat butter often enough to consider it a big issue. Sustainability is not a key trigger. And taste and naturalness are key drivers in the market, something that butter scores really rather well on. So we thought, okay, to steal share from dairy, we need to shake people out of autopilot and challenge their butter buying mindset. And setting out on this trailblazing route seemed incongruous coming from Flora, like the old joke about someone asking for directions with the response being, well, I wouldn't start from here. We needed to challenge the expectations and challenge perceptions of the brand for both our audiences. We needed to encourage our clients to be bolder and braver in their approach. We were also really important to skip the cliches. We were told that the best way to, work in this sector is to show beautiful mouth-watering shots of food people enjoying the products, but we knew that we wouldn't win by looking and sounding like everybody else with a fraction of the budget. We really had to punch above our weight. So a summary of the challenge: we had a great tasting product that people loved once they tried, but we're targeting an audience that's happy with what they currently use. A market where taste and naturalness are the key drivers, with a brand associated with bad old margarine and a small budget. So to win, we thought we need to challenge those existing perceptions of butter and establish Flora Plant as better than butter. Great taste, natural, and it's sustainable. So then we had what we what we like to think of as our light bulb moment. So one of the barriers to even considering plant butter, it started with those two words together, plant and butter. They just don't seem to go together, right? So butter was associated with milk and cows, and it seemed odd to think of butter coming from plants. But when you think about it, plants has always been the raw ingredients producing butter. It all starts with grass. So our light bulb moment was realizing the odd thing isn't that Flora Plant butter is made from plants. It's that dairy butter is made from plants that then have to travel through several meters of a cow's intestines. So we wanted to confront butter lovers with the strangeness of their choice, making them think about something they never really think about and helping them shift out of autopilot when they shopped for butter. So our brief to the creative team set out the challenge and culminated in this slide, which kind of summarized the idea. Same destination, better route. Cows are beautiful animals. We love them. They're great. They even lie down when it's about to rain, weather oracles. But it's a little strange. The thing that we put on our toast and sandwiches and in our cakes goes through their digestive system. So we've made something that we think tastes even better with all natural ingredients and none of that weirdo cow stuff. So we like to think of it as a strategic judo move, sort of destabilizing butter by using its own truth against it and positioning Flora Plant as a better choice. It places us on their turf, cues a whole set of expectations around texture and taste and usage. It challenges cow butter as the normal choice, and it has sustainability at its heart, but without preaching. And I think it exudes and inspires confidence in the product. So the creatives had a lot of fun developing the work, and they developed a whole smorgasbord of cowy strangeness, where some of it we thought might trouble the legal department. But we know humor was vitally important in making this approach both impactful and palatable. It was interesting when we tested it. We just thought, we need to land the fact that it's weird, not the fact that dairy is disgusting. So we needed to pull it back a little bit. But we also wanted to skip safe. We still needed to be provocative and be pokey and, really act like a challenger brand, because we did want people to rethink their habits. So it needed to be quite punchy. So we tried to make sure that we fought the good fight to keep it interesting. And we managed to get things like digestive system and even cow boobs into the work. So with the results, we saw a jump in awareness, consideration, sales. We outperformed the sector, and the return on investment made it Flora's most successful campaign ever. Our learnings is, aim high, don't stick to your niche, defy the category, don't do what everybody else is doing, and be brave, maybe make the clients sweat a little bit. Thank you.
All right. So I'm Bruno. I'm a strategy director at The Gate, and I'll be walking you through our paper for Anusol. Bum's the word, don't follow the herd, which is a paper that shows the value of challenging many things, including our industry's obsession with reinvention. So if everyone's sitting comfortably, let's begin. Bums. We rarely talk about them, which is why, although piles is a very common condition affecting 1 in 2 Brits at some point in their lives, is a condition that's still shrouded in shame. So people rather not sit down than to have to talk to a doctor. And the category didn't help, and it treated piles as this dirty little secret. So we saw a massive opportunity to drive growth for the brand by normalizing piles and normalizing treating them with Anusol. Now, Anusol was the market leader, but of a flat category with a very small budget. So taking on a taboo was a really big ambition. So we set a new direction for the brand, which was to stop thinking and acting like a market leader and start acting and behaving like a challenger. Like Eat Big Fish would argue, challenge is a state of mind and not a category position. So we saw an opportunity to break the norms in the category, bring a bit of humor and lightness to the category. British culture is famous for loving toilet humor. Farts are funny. And use laughter to diffuse, awkwardness and embarrassment. But there was a problem, which is the brand tracking research showed that there wasn't a link between Anusol and humor. The brand was perceived as a bit serious, as a bit boring, and we asking ourselves, how can Anusol leverage, harness this cultural insight to its own benefit? So, like a challenger, we went beyond traditional research methods, and we found something really interesting, which is people may not talk about piles in the living rooms, dinner, definitely not dinner, but they will write online reviews. And I'm gonna pull my favorite review. I apologize in advance. So this is a 5-star review titled "The Least Sexy Review in History." And the quote goes, "We all know what we're here for. We've been stung with a bout of devil's grapes. I had some fairly severe itchy around the old leather cheery for a while and took the plunge." So the big brand insight revealed that not only reviews of Anusol were funny, but they're actually funnier than any one of our competitors. So what we found out was that outside focus groups, Anusol had the permission to bring humor to the category. And the reason was in the name, anus. And so the name, Anusol was always seen as a bit of a problem, and people didn't really like it. But if you're smashing a taboo, then being direct or having anus in your name is an asset and not a liability. And this really unlocked our creative approach, the cheeky diagnosis, which I'll play.
Bums. We don't tend to talk about them, but 1 in 2 of them may get piles. Itchy, sore, pains in the posterior. Sound familiar? For fast, long-lasting relief, use Anusol. Developed by experts to suit.
So our campaign, played really into the name and playfully, brought it tried to playfully normalize what pile is, and we've used all those different visual burn visual metaphors, which included the pear, a donut, a balloon knot, and what we've done is really turn a weakness, a perceived weakness, which was the name of the brand, into really a strength, which allows us to attack this taboo with much more force. So the film was the campaign hero, and we've used digital and POS, all of that to help build our memory structures. But the client still needs convincing. And so we had to do some pre-testing. But instead of doing traditional research, we've used facial encoding, which measures people's emotional response to the ad. And we smashed it. People really liked it. But there was still a problem, which is the audience didn't think that piles was primetime TV material. And we'll ignore all of that and we run it all the same, because the point is that if you are tackling a taboo, then putting bums on primetime TV is exactly what we needed to do. And so we took our ads about bums primetime. The campaign got a lot of attention on social and in the wider media. And I think most importantly, it sold loads of hemorrhoids cream. And people weren't just noticing the ads, they were appreciating the humor, and they were noticing the media strategy. And all of that for a 20-second TVC about hemorrhoids cream. Did we change the formula in 2019? No. We used the same assets, the same media strategies, and we saw really good results across the board, which included Anusol being perceived as more unique, more meaningful, even though we had made no change to the product or the range. We also made bottoms big business in Canada, in South Africa, Ireland, Australia, and we've kept the same assets as well, and we've adapted the voice artists, and the claims were adapted to their local markets. In 2020, we did not do a COVID ad about bums. We kept running our same master brand assets, and we launched a new product, which were the flushable wipes. So new distinctive assets, but still recognizably the same campaign. and and the launch was the most successful launch in the brand's history. Through 2021 and 2022, we've extended the campaign into radio, as again using the same playbook, the same assets, the same music, similar script, the same voice artist. And in 2022, we include a partnership with Channel 5. So the campaign won the Marketing Society Awards for most effective use of data and insight in 2021, and good sustained effectiveness for long-term campaign in the Effie Awards. So after 5 years, this is the overarching, the overall impact of the creative strategy. So sales grew while sales of our competitors decreased. There was no promotion, and the average unit price of Anusol continued to be the same. We won market share while competitors' market share have gone down. So we really cemented Anusol market leading position. And we've also grew penetration in the category. So the bottom line. So what we hope this paper proves is the value of challenging many things, including our industry's obsession with reinvention and how planners can manage change in the benefits of the brands. So it may not make you popular with the creatives who are always really hungry for that juicy new brief. It may not make you look cool, in an industry event, may not give you something new to talk about, but it's absolutely a strategy that works. Thank you. We'll now hand over to our next speaker, and it's amazing that the APG is really well represented all over the world. And we have Rory calling from New Zealand, which I've heard is 5 a.m. there, so well done, Rory. And he'll walk you through the next case study. I think there'll be some tech changes, so just bear with us as we sort that out. Good.
So my name is Rory. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Special here in New Zealand, and I'm here to talk to you about the last performance, which was a campaign for a brand called Partners Life, which is a challenger brand in the insurance category here in New Zealand. And the brief was to sell, or at least make people sort of more interested in the concept of life insurance. New Zealand is a sort of chronically underinsured country when it comes to life insurance. Only 29% of New Zealanders have it. So I've been asked to share the 5-minute presentation I did for the judges on this campaign. So this focuses a bit more on the sort of theme of what the paper was about. But before I begin, I just sort of wanted to set the scene. I did the presentation in July, around about 18 months ago, and I'd actually just arrived back home in Ireland on holiday. I was very jet lagged, 2 young kids who'd been up since 3 a.m. And this may seem like unnecessary information, but the context will make sense as I go through the presentation. Speaking about context, it's also probably worth saying that the paper that we entered into the APG Awards was called The Eulogy of the Last Performance. And it was written like a eulogy because ultimately this campaign was about bringing the dead characters of a TV show back to life in show to sell life insurance. So I guess the theme ultimately is about death. So I'm going to get into character and sort of do this presentation and pretend as if it was sort of in front of the jury. So to kick off, we thought it might be worth beginning by talking about some of the uncomfortable truths about the process that we went through when preparing for our sort of APG presentation. So firstly, writing a eulogy themed paper was a massive error of judgment on my behalf. I can't tell you how quickly I exhausted all the puns around death. It feels like that there's far more puns in the sort of previous paper that we've just witnessed. And it's quite a surreal feeling when you're up until midnight reading blog posts about how to write a eulogy, and then you have to then apply that to an APG paper about life insurance. And I kind of realized that I was sort of way in over my head. I even asked a certain brother of mine at one point if he'd have a read of the paper, of which he declared it to be a bit average. So thankfully, he wasn't on the jury. And the truth is, it was a really hard campaign to pull off. It was a really hard paper to write, but hopefully people found it entertaining, and thankfully it proved to be worth it. The second uncomfortable truth is that it was a really inconvenient time to present to the world's best strategists. I had just arrived on the west coast of Ireland, was incredibly jet lagged, and my colleague Jolene, who presented with me, was in Auckland. It was 10 p.m. and it was in the middle of winter. Last but not least, the campaign thankfully has done okay for itself. And I guess in the build up to this presentation, it had just won a Cannes Grand Prix. But about a week before I went to Ireland, we found ourselves in Australia presenting at something called the Mumbrella Awards, where one jury member said, and I quote, "If this campaign came on the TV, I'd throw my shoe at it." So hopefully, being from a country that has also recently been unfairly stumped by the Australians, it would be really appreciated if you could be a bit nicer than that, because my confidence at this point was totally shot. So you're probably wondering, why am I talking about these very honest and uncomfortable truths? And of course, there is a moral to all of this, because uncomfortable truths can be really tough for agencies to sort of talk about and communicate. They can be tough for clients to hear, and maybe in the case of the outraged juror I just mentioned, tough for some jurors to comprehend. But when they are addressed, they can lead to memorable and outstanding breakthrough creative work. So we believe that The Last Performance is a really great example of this. It took some very uncomfortable and at times confronting truths, and it used them to create a really disruptive campaign. So I'm going to talk to you about the sort of 3 uncomfortable truths that played a really significant role in how this idea came to life. So the first one is that New Zealanders claim that they want to avoid engaging with death. But the reality is that simply is not true. In fact, New Zealanders love engaging with death, as long as it's not their own. True crime podcasts, murder mysteries, and dark comedies are hugely popular genres in New Zealand. Our second truth, which was probably the most important one, stemmed from research that showed us that hindsight is usually a really powerful trigger when it comes to getting insurance more generally. So, for example, if you break your leg, it prompts you to think about health insurance. But when it comes to life insurance, hindsight is completely useless, because the sad truth is that you're already dead. So our final truth was that instead of treating this campaign like we were selling life insurance, we treated it like we were selling death insurance. We realized that not being straight about what the brand was selling wasn't helping New Zealanders engage or want to buy the product. So unlike our competitors, we stopped focusing on peace of mind and instead focused on the uncomfortable truth and the subject of death head on. We treated the insurance product as it should rightly be called, like it was death insurance. Unfortunately, they haven't quite changed the name of it though just yet. So I guess the campaign helped us realize that in hindsight, uncomfortable truths are often buried in strategy decks. They act as context for work, but ironically are often considered too uncomfortable to lead with. And I actually think the sort of previous 2 cases that have been shared are really good examples of making something that sounds a bit uncomfortable really central to the work. And the breakthrough for this case study, very much the same principle applies. So rather than avoiding the tricky subject of death, we sought it out, knowing that creativity and dark humor have this sort of supernatural ability to make people accept the unacceptable. So in summary, death will always be confronting, even for strategists, but it feels apt then in a campaign where dead people impart their advice to others that we enshrine what we would like this campaign to be remembered for on a headstone epitaph. Don't just find the uncomfortable truth, confront it and make it central to your communications. Thank you so much for letting me share my memories of The Last Performance. Hopefully the campaign rests in peace, knowing that it's made a lasting contribution to the APG. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers for taking us through that work. It really underlines why I feel so lucky to be chair of the shortlist jury this year, because I'm going to get to read so many incredible papers and get so inspired by all of the great thinking that I know everyone's going to bring. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit next about how we're going to make this the biggest and the best APG Awards ever. The APGs have never just been about handing out trophies, although getting a trophy is nice, I'm not going to lie. But they're about bringing together the brightest strategic minds and sharing the kind of thinking that drives our industry forward. This year, as you've heard from Tom, we're casting the net wider than ever to make 2025 the year that shows just how brilliant and diverse and exciting strategic thinking can be. So as chair of the shortlist jury, I'm really thrilled to announce not only an extraordinary panel of judges, which we're going to get to, but also a series of really exciting changes to the awards themselves, which are all designed to uncover and celebrate strategic excellence wherever it exists. So first off, we're going to break down some barriers to entry. By extending our eligibility window from 2 years to 3 years, we're going to create more opportunities for great work to be recognised and ensure that we don't miss out on any exceptional strategic thinking that deserves its moment to shine. So your creative work must have appeared in market between the 31st of March 2022 and the 30th of March 2025. Next up, special prizes. So we are going to have all of the usual special prizes that you would expect, and a huge thank you, as Emily said, to all of our brilliant sponsors who helped to make all of this happen. Each of these prizes and the categories have helped to define what great strategy looks like. However, this year we are going further. So our new special prizes aim to reflect how strategy is evolving and really underline our every flavour of strategy theme. So they are the Best Global Strategy Award. We really want to celebrate thinking that works brilliantly across borders and across cultures. That's a really big strategic challenge, and we're really excited about hearing those stories. We're also awarding a prize for the best non-UK paper because, surprise, great strategic minds don't just live in the UK. So all around the world, please get entering. We want to hear you. We're also looking for the best example of CX thinking, of customer experience thinking, because we know that there are strategists who are making the magic happen at every consumer touchpoint. Best use of AI. Not in a GIF, but in creative strategy. Although, yeah, I mean, GIFs are my thing. What can we say? But this is, we can't not have this. This is where the world is going. It's where our discipline is going. We're really excited to see how strategists are using AI today to increase their smarts and their creativity and ultimately get to better work. We're also looking at a prize for the best use of data to drive brand effectiveness, and this is a new prize sponsored by Tracksuit. So we're really excited to see how have you used data in the process to really drive fantastic results for a brand. And last but not least, the one that got away. So if you have a story, a campaign that for whatever reason didn't make it into the APG Awards in one of the previous incarnations, now is the time to let that story out and let us all enjoy it. So for any campaign that's not inside the eligibility dates, please share it with us. I'm afraid, though, this cannot contribute to agency points. So it will just be for the glory and for us all to enjoy the learning. So we're looking forward to all of those. So now I want to talk a little bit about our judges, about the campaign that some of you may have seen already, and I want to talk about community, as Emily highlighted. As you would expect, we have assembled a powerhouse team of strategic minds as your judges who represent the full spectrum of modern strategy. Each judge brings their own unique perspective and expertise, ensuring we can evaluate and celebrate strategy in all of its forms. So whatever flavour of strategic thinking you can imagine, we have got someone on the jury who gets it, and as a team, we're on an absolute mission to celebrate it. But we're going a little bit further this year in terms than ever before, in terms of celebrating that jury. And using this diverse team to really encourage every flavour of strategy to enter. And we want to do that in maybe a little bit of a fun way, perhaps bust a few cliches about planners as we do so. So I want to share with you a little bit of the inspiration now behind this campaign.
What do we do?
We get ready. There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people. So when we needed them, they could fight the battles that we never could. Gentlemen, what are you prepared to do?
So I promise you we're not about to burst into spandex, or maybe save for a drink later and find out. But really what we've done is taken inspiration from the worlds of superhero teams to highlight and celebrate our incredible judges. So as you can see here. So a huge thanks to Lexi, who has really helped us make all of this amazing stuff happen around the Strategy Top Trumps collection, which have recently launched online, and you can try and collect the full set. To look at a couple of those in a bit more detail, we've got Lola, who I know is here tonight, also known as the Hulk, from Neverland, whose strategy superpower is smashing objectives by tapping into our basic human emotions, and really wants to see narrative structures that break from the usual formula and wants to feel jealous. And then we've also got Luke, who's not here for the very good reason that he's in the States, but he is Captain America with his strategy superpower, clairvoyance. Mwahaha, I don't know what he knows that we don't. And his piece of advice, if you're writing an APG paper, is to tell us the story of the insight, the heart of the creative idea, and the reason why you did something that no one else could. So keep an eye out for these on LinkedIn. We're releasing the whole set, and see if you can catch them all. But beyond the awards themselves, and really to build on what Emily was saying at the top, the APG has always been about something special, a vibrant community that celebrates different perspectives. So as part of our awards campaign this year, we're launching the Strat Chats series, featuring our judges and opening up conversations about what strategy can be, and making our discipline more accessible and inclusive than ever before. And in what's going to be a total shock to the two people that are in this clip, I'm going to show you one of them now because they're both here tonight.
Lisa, how would you define creative strategy?
I would say that it is a interesting, evocative, hopefully provocative, and ultimately creative solution to a business problem that actually moves people.
Outstanding answer.
Thank you. How do you define creative strategy in 30 seconds or less?
I think it's about providing a provocative framing of a problem that inspires people to think laterally about how to solve it.
So we'll be releasing those into the wild very soon, and do look out for those. So top trumps, superheroes, the Strat Chats. These aren't just about the awards or casting the widest possible net across the strategy multiverse, although all of that is very important. They serve a deeper purpose. It's about showing to every strategist in the world two fundamental truths: that there's a vibrant community here with open arms, waiting to welcome you, and that this community thrives on diversity, in thinking, in background, and in discipline. We believe in the power of visibility. When we bring our judges into the spotlight, yes, it's fun, but stepping out from behind the curtain, we're not just introducing faces, we're showcasing possibilities. Every judge represents a different path and a different perspective, a different proof that there is room for your unique voice in this space. So 2025 isn't just another year for the APG Creative Strategy Awards. It's our declaration that strategic thinking is at its most powerful when it reflects the full spectrum of human creativity and experience. We can't wait to see what you've got.